Streaming. Let's go. All right, I think we're live, guys, on YouTube. What's going on? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been an exciting time in poker right now. My name's Joey Gramont, aka Chicago Joey, and back with a podcast, not a live stream investigation, guys. And if you guys are fans of the streaming world, if you guys are a fan of YouTube content, if you guys have been a fan of the poker world content for many, many years, you are going to recognize this young gentleman to my left. He's a man that has streamed approximately 2.8 million hours in his entire life. I think one time, I swear to God, I felt like the guy was streaming every day for 10 hours from a dirty basement for, I don't know how long the guy was going for. I go, man, me and Doug would talk and we're like, how does this guy do? I don't know how he does this, man. The guy's a machine. And then the machine went behind the scenes. He got involved in the business world, man. And he started a very beautiful company. He got Run It Up, beautiful tour up there. Now they open up some studios here in Las Vegas. And I mean, a lot of stuff they're doing is just is great, man. I'm actually going to be going up to the Run It Up Reno event coming up here. I went to my first one, so we're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk more about what Jason's been kind of up to as well, too, and a bunch of various other things, guys. And yeah, it's kind of excited to have him on. Jason Somerville, Jay Carver, welcome.
What an intro.
Welcome back
Joey,
to the podcast.
That was amazing.
Thank you,
You got to
sir.
be my permanent hype man, bro. That was great.
I went easy. Like, my mind is still like rattled by this whole Stones thing. So like I'm thinking clearly, but at the same time, and people in chat, please let me know how this audio sounds. Make sure we're clear on both ends here. If not, I need to adjust one to make it sound better. Let me know, please. But yeah, I've just kind of in the streets. But yeah, man, I feel like that was a like a medium-sized intro. I certainly could have went on more and more. I mean, you know, like you were kind of the first person to really pop. I mean, you were the first person to popularize streaming. And the reason why I started doing YouTube content was because you were doing the Run It Up content on the YouTube channel and it was going really well.
That's
so
awesome.
So I was like, well, maybe I should, like, why not start doing some content too? So then I started content. And so that was a huge inspiration for me for getting started back in the day.
Dude, I love to hear it, man. I mean, you've been an absolute beast. You know, obviously you've created such great content. You're on an amazing tear recently. I saw some of the streams you've done the last couple of days, digging deep. It's amazing, really. Your investigative powers are something the poker community really needs. Like, I hope people appreciate having you doing this stuff because, you know, it's certainly a community service that is much needed.
Yeah, I think I'm just nuts. You know, I think we talked about this right before we
all
started.
are.
Yeah, we're just. I feel like, are my eyes a little bloodshot? I mean, I hope they aren't. This is how I look in the investigations, guys. You know that those eyes, I feel like they don't clear up a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just. Listen, man. You know, if you guys don't know out there what's happening, there was a guy named Mike Postle, aka the God. He's been accused of being able to have some sort of cheating, whole real-time access to whole cards on the streams at the Stone Live, and he was accused by a former employee. Shout out to Veronica. And yeah, so she posted that. And one day, you know, I was like, let me just start taking a look at this guy. So I pulled up a very random stream on Stone's Live, and I started watching the guy, and I said, wow, this is incredible frequencies and range construction like I haven't seen in quite a long time. I've watched a lot of poker and just haven't seen somebody operate in the manner that this man is able to operate in all of these spots, whether it's single raise pots, multi-way pots, three bet pots. I mean, just every variation of a post flop scenario, this man seemed to always make the right decision while having very marginal hands. So even making good folds in spots too. So I just said, okay, I just kept looking through. I kept taking note, and I watched about 23 hours of his hands, and I said, well, damn, you know, this is so kind of, I don't know. So what have you kind of seen about it, man? What's been your take? Because obviously you have a lot of experience with the back end of things in terms of with setting up these operations and with your own stream, and I think even with Stones in some capacity in the past. So what's kind of been your take on things, man?
Yeah, I mean, the first hand that I saw was the double ace king 5-4 offsuit hand with Moneymaker. And I've never seen a hand played like that in my life by somebody who's a winning player. And so that was the beginning of where I was like, okay, this seems like it's a serious thing. And I've seen maybe a half dozen hands since then. Some look suspicious, some questionable, marginal. And I watched some of your show yesterday, and you're digging through this and doing an amazing job going through it. And man, I mean, like, surely it's definitely suspicious. I'm quite curious to the how that this is happening. Like, let's not say yes or no. Let's just assume it's a yes. I'm very interested to know the how, so we can both harden our own live streams, so we can kind of prepare against it. You know, I have been to Stones a bunch of times. They have a beautiful poker room, and I know Justin Curiatis personally, and I think he's a good guy. I do think that they've handled this a little incorrectly correctly, right? Like they were a little dismissive at first, saying there was definitely no cheating whatsoever, and I think that's come back to bite them a little bit. We did a Run It Up event at Stones last year. They've been an advocate of live streaming. They're one of the first places besides Live at the Bike to do live streams. So I was always happy to support them, and this is super unfortunate because they are this kind of like progressive broadcast, progressive casino doing these live streams. When we came over to them, actually, part of what we did was to help them with their live stream. So our team actually contributed to the upgrades in the microphones, their upgrades in the cameras. Their cameras were sort of that security camera angle that some of these live streams use. We tried to make that a little bit better. But all the work that we did was on the encoding end, on the front end. We never touched the back end. And as a complete technical novice, it's outside of my purview to know exactly. The information he's getting has to be somehow from either the back end or somehow some sort of production information in some way. Like I'm quite curious to hear even like your thoughts on how he's actually doing this, because having some sort of like an RFID scanner on the table, I don't think that works that way, that you can like get all the hole cards. So there has to be some sort of like if there is some sort of exploit going on, which it seems likely there is, it has to be something on the back end. And I'm not really sure the methodology, but certainly I share your heavy suspicion at this point that something is up.
Yeah, I mean, those are all, first of all, it makes sense that you said you helped them out with the upgrading, because I've wondered, their stream is quite beautiful. The room looks beautiful. The stream quality itself is beautiful. The booth is nice. It sounds great. So that makes sense, because your guys' stream is top. I mean, your guys' stream is top-notch quality in terms of even like the running up in the ball. There's like a cash game table in the ballroom, and you look at the stream, and it's just, I'm like, man, like that quality.
Dude, we take that seriously, man. Like our production team at Run It Up is like we try to compete with Poker Go, but at like a 10th of the cost of Poker Go. Like, so we take that seriously. So we've helped out several different casinos and venues with their live streams. One thing I wanted to mention to you that you may not know is in California, the Gaming Commission doesn't really have a serious hand on the live stream component. Right, they've got much more of like a live and let live sort of approach to live streams, because there's not that many of them, and whatever. In Nevada, when we do live streams at Run It Up Reno, there's a security guard outside with a gun the whole time. It's really? Like an armed security has to be posted outside. You have to follow these very strict requirements in Nevada to do the live streams. And in California, to my knowledge, the requirements are significantly less. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that led to the exploit exactly, but I do think that it puts more of the onus on the operator to make sure that those security protocols are enforced.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. I think just from my own experience with Live at the Bike, from doing a lot of commentating there's certainly not there ain't a security guard in sight kind of walking by. So.
Right. I've heard that in Live at the Bike, they're like sitting there, and then the guy with the hole cards is like next to you behind a curtain. Like that security is not great from a player information point of view. So like, I know you could think of like, wow, there could be some exploits there. So, it's one of those things where what you're doing is so needed to kind of like, let's dig and figure this out. And figuring out the how is going to be critical here.
We kind of mentioned about how, like, I've definitely looked into it a lot, and a little scary because I've got a lot of messages from people who played in home games, who've talked about being cheated in their own home games. And I've heard of a number of different ways that this cheating allegedly has taken place. According to these guys, they have their horror stories, how they got taken for money, whether it's with automatic shufflers, whether it's marked decks, whether it's RFID card. There's a lot of different ways out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. And I think when you think about a situation like this, most people seem to think it would probably be done with someone else, and whether they're feeding information through some sort of device. I mean, listen, back in Casino, right? Okay, Casino put out 95. They said it's shot in the 60s. The guy at the 60s at the table, he had Morse code on him, getting his card sent to him. So if my man in Casino had a fucking Morse code on his knee back in 1965, what do they got in 2019, man? They guys see the robots at Boston Dynamics or whatever they're called. They got a robot doing a backflip. You're telling me that they don't have some sort of thing that's going to signal something? I mean, come on, I just don't believe it.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's who knows what exactly is out there. It could be something as simple as like the telephone thing, because we've seen it's very suspicious activity. Like it's like cupping his lower region area on a consistent
Right,
basis.
I saw that he was looking down sometimes during hands and stuff like that. You know, Stones for a while didn't let you could have your cell phone on the rail, and like they don't, you know, quarantine in that way.
Right.
You know, cell phones, or at least they didn't for a while. So I think this is a bit of like a cat and mouse game, right? Like there haven't been RFID live streams for a while, right? Up until, I don't know, maybe 2012-ish, there was all the lipstick cams where there was no RFID. So we're only a few years into where this RFID technology has kind of been sort of widespread. So maybe it's one of those things now where people have come up with, hey, let's try to do this exploit or whatnot, you know, and Stones is going to have to do a thorough investigation of the whole process to audit the server, the whole every step of the technology.
How do you even audit this, right? Because let's say it's something as simple as a guy in the back sees the cards and sends him a message, right? What if it's that easy? Then how would you have to? Is there a security camera in that booth? Like, do you go back and review it? How are you able to even do these things? Do you look at every interaction? Like, there's so many of these things that I feel like you have to know what to look for. And now, who are the people that do these sorts of things like that, right? That's what I'd be very curious about. Are there experts that know? Do they understand poker?
Right.
You know, I got a lot of questions about that process.
There are no RFID security experts, right? As far as I know, they don't exist. So it's going to have to be some sort of an investigation done, like sort of the way you're doing it, where it's like logically following the thread. Here's one thing I do know, and I can't speak specifically to Stones as far as what do they have in terms of cameras or whatnot. But I do know that Stones has two people in the back in the same room. So I find it extremely hard to imagine that one guy is telling him what the cards are with somebody else in the room.
Right.
So that I doubt. But you know, I'm not sure that there couldn't be some sort of maybe he had access to the back room and installed some sort of a program that let him scrape one of the servers, or like, look, I'm not a tech person to that extent where I can speak to the method of the hacking or whatever. But you know, on our end, I suspect as someone who has some knowledge, but not the deep tech knowledge, that something was done from the server side, something was done in the back end in some way, and we have to do an investigation to figure this out. I mean, let me ask you this question: with all the stuff that you've learned and done, what chance do you think it is that it's completely legit and it's just like an outlier, somebody running insanely hot, and that's just that?
Great question. Oh, man. Oh, my God.
You think it's like none, right? You think it's like zero pretty much at this point.
See, here's the thing. It's either the guy is absolutely a fucking god. He's Phil Ivey times 50, okay? Like, I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
He's the best exploited player in the history of the game, or there's out of line activity. I don't see any other way. It's only one of the two. So what's more likely?
Post that you made. I saw a post you made that he had like a $600 an hour hourly rate playing 1-3 on the stream over like 50 hours.
Right. So these are going to be these are approximations for people who've watched the stream and who've been putting into the work behind the scenes. Big shout out to them. Now, Mike has said that that's not necessarily true. They don't count for rebuys sometimes. Sometimes they'll just add on random. So there's obviously going to be, he's got an explanation for all these different things. I'm still waiting for him to publicly come out and sort of give an explanation for this. I've been waiting for Stones to come out and maybe say something about what's happening as well too. Sure. So there's all these things that I feel like you can make a case for, but when you start adding them all together and then you look at the fact that the man wins 62 of 69 sessions, right?
That's crazy.
Like that 200 and what, 75, what was the number? I mean, I just want to check this, guys. $270,000 lifetime the man's up at the Stones in about 1 year. About That's 1 year? Insane. A little over a year?
Yeah.
253? 62 sessions, 253. The guy's playing 5-5 with a straddle and occasionally to 10 sometimes. I mean, this guy's a god, right? You can't. I get speechless watching him play. It's inspirational. It honestly is. Like, I don't, even if he, like, you know, the fire in the voice, right? What do you think happens in this situation, Jason? If this is said, okay, he did it. We figured out he did it, right? What do you think happens in this spot? Do they refund players money? Like, what goes on here?
Man, I mean, I don't think this has ever happened before in the history of poker broadcasting, right?
I don't
Where
think
this has
so.
sort
I've
of happened.
never anything
This
like
is
it. Yeah.
right. Never like this happened before. I think this is obviously escalated to a point where it comes to top management at Stones that has to go through the most thorough investigation you can. You know, there in Sacramento, there's a lot of computer genius wizards in that area that could definitely take a serious look to see if anything has been installed, if anything has been tampered with. And then honestly, like, this is what the Gaming Commission is for, right? Why is there a California Gaming Commission if they're not going to look into spots like this and, you know, pay attention and then potentially either apply criminal penalties, potentially, you know, figure out player reimbursements, right? Like, this is exactly why we have regulation.
Right.
If there is no regulation, it would be up to you, right? But that shouldn't be the case. There should be other people that see this and go, wow, okay, this is clearly, it warrants an investigation, right? Like, you know, it clearly warrants someone looking into it. So why is the government and the commission not being the one to follow this?
Right.
Why is it up to you?
That's what I'm saying. This is like America's Cardinal over again, except we're in America, and this is an actual casino that is regulated by some sort of law. Where are those guys at? Did they come? Did they do the investigation? Did they walk in? Was it one guy? Did they leave?
Do they even know?
Do they even know? Right? Like what? Right. Yeah, exactly. I feel like
that's the question I really have.
Is
is anybody over there like, oh yeah, right, let's look into this? Like, you know, because I guarantee you this, Joey, that in Nevada, this would have already been on the radar of Nevada. You know, they take their gaming commission stuff so seriously that, I mean, look, I can't say 100%, but when we've done Run It Up Reno, we have a gaming person visit sometimes multiple times throughout the broadcast to make sure that we're doing everything right. Right? Like, they're asking, where does this cable go to? What is this going on here? Does this door have a lock on it? You know, there's not an equivalent person that does that in California.
So I actually want
to the operator.
I got a statement sent to me that Justin, I sent to the employees. He said, I want to address this. This was September 29th. And he said, I want to address this since it's all of our social media and you will likely get questions from our guest. Allegations of cheating occurring on Stones Live were raised to us earlier in the year. We did a full investigation, updated several security protocols as a result of the complaint. That said, we found zero evidence that cheating occurred. It is unfortunate that this is out there now and that it was taken public with no facts to back it up. When players ask them about the situation, I recommend just telling them the simple truth. Accusations were made and there is no evidence to back up those accusations. Interesting. Zero evidence. I mean, yeah, I guess, right? I mean, maybe they didn't find anything. They didn't find out how the person was able to do it. But I just don't understand how you can possibly ever watch what's taking place in some of these streams and say zero. Yeah. There's something like you can't. It's just impossible. Even anyone that on the other side, come watch it with me. Like I'll watch. We'll watch together. Me and Doug are going to do a sit down watch on Saturday. We're going to watch together, right? Nice. Like how many? You know, yeah. It's just.
It's tough because like I said, I have a lot of respect for Justin. He runs a very unique poker room where it's very friendly and you know, they have natural sunlight and they do a bunch of things differently. But I think it's a mistake for him to be so dismissive. Like, you can't say there's no evidence when you personally have done 16 hours of live streaming the last 2 days analyzing the evidence. Like clearly I mean, you know, maybe he's more saying there's no direct evidence of hacking, but you know, at this point we got to be in a situation where it's like we have to do a thorough investigation, audit the entire system. And between you and me, I'm somewhat surprised that they're continuing to do shows in the meantime. It seems like
I believe this is something that some people might not know. I believe they did just release a statement where they are suspending live play, I believe, here.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's the right move.
Stones Gambling is suspending all broadcast of poker play, including live streaming, while we expand our multifaceted investigation with outside experts. This investigation will be thorough and detailed. We report the outcomes and they're available. Yeah, listen, I've trusted them.
That's a good statement.
I agree. And I've trusted them on investigation before, but who are these people, right? I just don't believe them. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I feel like there's a big reason to be doubtful about what exactly they're saying and who these people are and what they're doing and
but it's like,
what are they reviewing and stuff like that.
Even if you have a tech guy come through and say, I guarantee you that this was not hacked, I guarantee you that this was not hacked, it doesn't mean there's no cheating. It just means that wasn't the way that it was done.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So, right. I'm glad somebody, because I feel like this is a common thing. They go, well, like, these are arguments sometimes read on Twitter. It said, well, like, listen, the guy came in, they looked around, they like pulled a couple strings, and they said, hey, it's good. It's like, well, there's other ways, right? There's other things. How could you go back? How could you really know? And maybe we never know, and maybe we go back and there's no way to do these things, and the system was in place and it was good, and there's no way to figure it out. Like that just could be the reality of the situation. And then my man, the god of poker, debatably the best poker player in the history of the fucking game. He's got to go there wearing this uncertainty on his sleeve everywhere he goes. It's a shitty situation for everybody involved.
Right. It's unfair for Mike too, right? And the presumption that you're innocent until proven guilty here in America, that's not really a court of law in this situation. But like, yeah, it sucks for everybody. And especially me, I'm someone who's very invested in live streaming and want to bring more live streams to more places and think that it's the future of poker content. One of the biggest things I have strived for with Run It Up Studios is to try to get the production cost down so we can do more live streams at more places. Right? Not everybody can afford the absolutely beautiful but quite expensive Poker Go studio, but if you could make a live stream viable for a place to run for $800 a day, then you can run those shows like Stones is able to do and Live with the Bike is able to do. So for me, like, I'm very invested in this story because we need to figure out the how so we can harden that and protect the integrity of the game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, like you said, you're very invested in this too. You're building up the Run It Up empire right now. As you said, you're looking to expand the live streams. You just started doing some more live streams from the studios here in Las Vegas. You did something where the Twitch chat played in a session, and now did the Twitch chat win? Because
Twitch chat did win. Twitch chat is undefeated, actually.
I think, listen, if they're my Twitch chat, I know they're winning. If they're my YouTube chat, I know they're winning players, right? This isn't my buddy. This isn't Doug Polk's YouTube channel. This isn't my Doug's my guy, but I know his audience is a little fishy. We got a winning poker playing audience around here. 95% of my audience is confirmed winning poker players, whereas in Doug Polk's, 95% of his audience is actually losing players. So I feel like maybe our audience is just a little bit better players out there, Jay. I think that's
Joey,
happening.
what you can do here now is we can literally set up a session where you come and you play host when I was host last week for this Chat Plays Poker session. We can play PLO against 3 opponents, and your chat can actually run the game with you, and we can compare your results. Let Doug come in for a session. He can play with his chat. We can do competitions, so to speak, with this live stream setup. So let me explain a little bit what we've done here.
I think they're winning maybe no limit play. I don't know if these guys are. I don't know if these guys are very well versed. That's a great game of Pop in Omaha. Yeah,
unfortunately. But yeah, so we built a home game studio in Vegas because I wanted a place where I could do some cool things with no delay. And so we built this place maybe in the summer at some point. I wanted to kind of let my team do some production reps also, just to get used to the idea of running these broadcasts. And so, we launched Chat Plays Poker a few weeks ago. We got Chris Moneymaker in there. Stakes came to hang out. And it's so awesome, right? Because we're playing on no delay. Our player has a camera strapped to his chest. He pulls up the cards. I say, all right, guys, what do you want to do? A, B, C, vote now. Chat votes. 20 seconds later, we make our decision. And it's so much fun, man.
So maybe the chat's better than we can. Sometimes we pick on the chat. Maybe the chat's actually God's. Maybe Mike Postle in the chat? Was he in the chat or something? Maybe he was in the chat.
Yeah, maybe.
I got my guy Doug in the chat. I think me and Doug are actually going to do an emergency podcast tomorrow, guys, as well too. I know. I think he just released his video, and if he did release the video right now, then we're going to do the show tomorrow. If he releases the video tomorrow, we're going to do the show Friday. But me and Doug are going to have a little conversation because Doug also went over the tapes. He made a more humoristic video. I don't know what his take is on the situation quite yet, and how Doug takes a stance one way. I don't know what stance he took, but I imagine his stance was quite opinionated. So I'm going to be interested to kind of see what's happening with Doug here in this video he made. So I guess so your plan for Run Up right now, you mentioned the stream game. Where are you kind of at with things right now? So are you focused on building the business and kind of growing poker, or where exactly are your goals lying right now with the operation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question that I've been sort of tackling ever since I stopped streaming regularly.
Right.
I mean, I after I had streamed for 4 years straight, I started on YouTube, ended up on Twitch. I kind of burned out, and it wasn't that I was burned out on poker or on streaming, but I was kind of burnt out on the sort of like solitary constant travel life. Twitch streaming, and you know this better than anybody, Joey, but streaming is one of those things where you're constantly talking and interacting with chat, but you're also alone a lot, like physically alone. So it's like it's both very social and very antisocial at the same time. At one point, I had dropped down to like 135 pounds because all I did was stream every single day. I'm not supposed to be 135 pounds, Joey. So all I was doing was literally streaming. I would wake up, stream, go to sleep, wake up, stream, go to sleep. I did 79 days in a row where I took almost no breaks throughout the broadcast. I only left the house in those 3 months 2 times to go to the street to meet my weed dealer. Okay, that was it.
Oh,
So
whoa.
I
We're
was
breaking
like,
TOS with that? Allegedly.
it's fine.
Okay.
So I kind of burnt out a little bit on that. I felt like I needed to kind of build something that was more than just a treadmill for me to keep streaming and doing my thing. So I had all these resources in streaming. And so I wanted to kind of build a production company that allowed us to do live events and live productions and get ready for what I thought was going to be an influx of online poker. And with online poker would come money for more content. And I think that started to happen a little bit. We can talk more about some of the big news that happened today with the merger between Stars and Flutter, that massive mega conglomerate that created today, if you want. But so I started doing that. I've built some more live events. We have this studio in Vegas now where I can run home game content and a bunch of other cool things we've got planned for that. The Chat Plays Poker is another one of those innovations that I kind of wanted to push in that space. And we're working on some future plans that involve me with content. We haven't announced on our socials, but Twitch announced that we're going to be broadcasting 5 Thursday night football games this fall, which is going to be awesome. We've got some live events coming up and a bunch of normal streams too. I hope to be involved in the launch of Pennsylvania when Pennsylvania goes online, like I was there for New Jersey. So man, we've got a lot of cool things in the works.
Yeah, you got a lot of things in the works. Do you feel like that's a little overwhelming to have that many things, or do you feel like you're good at assigning responsibility to the team that you've employed for the company?
I have a great team, honestly. Like I couldn't do it without my team. We were talking before the show today a little bit about how awesome my team is, and everybody from my top level executives down to the most recent additions to the team all understand the vision of what we're trying to accomplish, help me execute these things, and I couldn't run it up Reno without my team. Kristalina, who is my CMO, she has organized things in a way that I am physically incapable of organizing. And so we've got these. The Run It Up Reno is a massive event. We have over 1,000 unique players there, and all these different things we have to make sure are working. At this point, Joey, I literally just say yes beforehand or no, and then I show up. It's made it to the point that I can play poker a little bit once in a while. I played we had a Peppermill live cash games recently. I was playing 50, 100 PLO at Peppermill.
How much money are you making, kid? God damn, man. Fuck. What are they paying you over there?
You got to come hang out. We had 9-handed 50, 100 PLO for 9 hours, Joey. It was amazing.
Real money? Was that real money?
Real money.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I've been playing some more poker recently, and I look forward to getting back to streaming regularly. It's something that I miss more often than not.
So you're gonna get back to the streaming
as online poker returns to the States. I'll be honest, my passions for gambling have I've kind of expanded from just poker to also sports. I've bet a lot of sports the last few years. It's something that's become my most focused passion as far as gambling goes. So I plan on doing a mix of poker and sports and sort of turning Run It Up into more of a brand that touches how can you be better gamblers in both poker and sports, teaching some of the things I've learned over the last 5 years and helping people sort of approach that market too. Because, sports is about 100 times bigger than poker.
It's one of those industries as well too, Jason, and people out there probably know it's going up, right? It's at the bottom right now. Where we're at right now, it's literally only going up from here. Right. And whereas poker, obviously, it's not necessarily in that situation, a much less healthier kind of ecosystem. So especially if you have knowledge in that base and that's something you're interested in too, that seems like a great way to kind of pivot up there and kind of grow the business and expand. And I don't know that might look like in terms of, you mentioned learning and teaching. So whether that's some sort of teaching or whether that's some sort of programming, kind of maybe developing some sort of show related to that. And obviously it's a different demographic than what is your traditional demographic too. But I would imagine that that's something you could build on with just high production value and creativity and consistency.
Yeah, by the end of next year, 40% of Americans will have legal sports betting available to them, which is insane from a population point of view. So regardless of that, I really enjoy it. I feel like I can kind of teach sports betting in the same way that I taught poker. Nobody in the world has answered what is a big blind more than me, right? I had so many basic questions when I was on Twitch, which is fine. I don't mind that, and I want to kind of do the same thing. Like, what is a money line? What are these things? And I've got a very good track record at this point. I'm quite confident in my edges in most American sports, everyone except for basketball, as it works out. But at this point, I know for a fact I can kind of guide people to the resources that I've sort of discovered, the methodology that I've sort of used to approach it, and whether it's an educational or an entertainment sort of blend. I mean, that's what I did for poker. Was right. I loved the training site videos as a hardcore poker fan, but it was so unapproachable to a casual fan. And so my original goal with Run It Up was to make content that was both educational and had some of the more advanced poker concepts in it, but also was entertaining in case you wanted nothing to do with that and just wanted to have a good time.
So you were trying to hit multiple different audiences. So you could learn something, or you could be entertained, or you could, if you are hardcore, you could also do that too. Like there's a variance of various
it's like
different ways you can enjoy the stream. Right. That makes sense.
Right. I mean, that's how we kind of had a situation where I was playing 100, 200, 8 game and talking about some like stud high low concepts, but also laughing when Mirko, the robotic bird, would go off in the middle of a hand, right? Like it's one of those things where why not have both, right? Like I always thought it didn't have to be like, you have to be so like buttoned up and doing your own thing. So why not have a good time while also playing like intermediate level poker or occasionally better?
I think we can make a good argument for better, but I mean, I feel like you're playing poker at a pretty damn good level, man. So you kind of stop. It's weird, right? We see a lot of these guys that are great at poker and stop playing. I'm done.
I don't think my poker game is what it used to be. I mean, I played the whole World Series this summer. Last year, I played like 2 events, and the year before, I played literally 0. This summer, I played like 13, and the only tournament that I cashed at the Rio this summer was the Gavin Smith charity tourney, which I know he would have found hilarious. And I got second in that to Matt Stout, and then didn't cash a tourney the rest of the summer. So, it's hard, man. The game's gotten a little tougher for sure. I definitely feel more like a recreational player when I hear some of these geniuses talking about all the tools they're using, all the resources, all the solvers that were not available when I was really studying. I've tried to stay somewhat in touch with what's going on with that, but it's really hard, as you know, unless you're committed and dedicated. I've actually been playing a ton of PLO in the last year or so. A lot of people in my life are big PLO fans. It's so much more fun than Hold'em. We'll see what happens with all that.
The great game of Postle, huh?
The great game. Yeah, I heard you're hosting the PLO cash game hangout at Run It Up Reno.
Well, listen, at the last run up, unless if Postle's in the game, like I don't know. I saw his PLO ability a little bit, and certainly not a god like he was at Nolan Hold'em. So actually, if Postle's in the game, I'd more happy to play a PLO with him. But I host some games there. I played last time. I had so much fun. I mean, dude, listen, I went to Run Up Reno last time for the first time. I needed to get the fuck out of the house. I don't think I was in a pretty good mental space kind of being here. And I went up there. I just had such a great time. I got healthy again. I started working out a lot. I started seeing people. A lot of people I really enjoy are up there. I started meeting new people, met a lot of fans. Like, it was just such a fun experience and a beautiful place and such a peaceful place compared to Vegas. Like, Vegas out here, we got the strip right here. It's madness. And you go to Reno, they got the mountains, you got the water, it's just a peaceful place. I felt like there. So I just really enjoyed my time there. Had so much fun playing the cash games, the tournaments. I don't fucking hate tournaments, but there was no PLO tournament, and I tried to I was like, hey, can we make sure we get a PLO tournament this time around? So I do believe there's a PLO tournament, and I said if I'm in it, I'll do some sort of bounty on myself. So whoever gets at my table, you can get a bounty on me.
Thursday the 17th, I think, is the PLO tourney. So we added that just for you, Joey. We've had it in the past. We took it off once, and we have it back this time. And I'll definitely make sure in the future we have those available. One of the coolest things we do at Running Up Reno is we have the ability to live stream non-Hold'em games. So in the past, we've had 8-game live streams. We've had some other things going off. This event, we actually had our 8-game noon event pushed off to 5 p.m. and pushed off the stream schedule because we got to launch the Moneymaker Tour in North America. So we're actually giving away a Platinum Pass also on that Wednesday.
Wait. A Platinum Pass is given away this Run Up Reno?
Yeah, we just announced it like last week because it was news to me also. But yeah, they gave us a platinum pass to give away on that Wednesday. I think it's $150 buy-in, and
What?
first place will get a platinum
What?
pass.
Are you
So it's
serious?
pretty insane.
Bro, that's
Yeah.
pretty sick. And if you guys don't know Platinum Pass, so last year PokerStars did something at the PCA. It was this
Yep.
January? Last January? Am I tripping?
Was it
This January? I
think
can't
it was
remember. This
January.
January,
Yeah.
right? So they just gave me a pass. Shout out to PokerStars. They did give me the pass. So they gave away a bunch of passes to all these people around the world. A lot of amateur players that have never stepped foot inside of a $25,000 tournament and never probably will again. They got passes. They got trips down to the Bahamas. It was one of the most. It was just a great event. The energy was great. It was unlike anything I've been to in poker. It was a beautiful event. So they decided next year they're going to do that in Barcelona. Where, if you guys haven't been to Barcelona, first of all, amazing, a beautiful place. It's going to be rocking. So they're doing away another platinum pass, and that's the first one they're giving away because they just announced it, and I know they're
First
starting
one in North America
next August.
Yeah.
Right. So you get the first one, and that's like I think it's a 30K euro package or something like that. Maybe a little less, somewhere around there.
30K exactly. Moneymaker is actually giving away a platinum pass in Sochi in Russia and flying from there to Reno, which, as you could guess, is not a direct flight. And so, yeah, he's going to be in Sochi like 3 days before and then flying to run it up Reno to hang out for a few days, give away a platinum pass in Reno, and then on with his tour from there. But yeah, we're the first stop in North America by like 3 months.
$150 buy-in, and you're telling me one of these guys at Reno is gonna gonna know they're going to Barcelona for the platinum pass and
for a 30K package. Yeah, man, it's gonna be absolutely insane.
What day is this? What day is this?
It's Wednesday. If you want to check the schedule, it's runitupreno.com, and you can see the full schedule. It's going to be so much fun, man. We always try to make Run It Up Reno more than just a poker series. You were alluding to it earlier. We have a ton of fun social events. A lot of people come and hang out. It's a great place. If you've never played live poker before, everybody's there having a good time. They'll help you out. There's so many people you can meet that are just going to have a good time regardless of your skill level. And now we've got these guys that are more like, professional players that still like to come because the atmosphere is so fun. And we try to do a lot of things in a more modern, innovative way. No tournament is more than 8-handed, except for the Moneymaker event when we start, because we're going to have so many people. But every tournament is 8-handed or less. We use four-color decks in all the mixed game events, which some of the Reno locals don't love, but I think it's the future for when you're playing stud. You got to be able to see the cards across the way. I always think it's crazy when the 84-year-olds are like, "What are these newfangled 4-color decks?" I'm like, "Bro, you can't even see what the card is across the way. Now you can at least see the color." But yeah, we do a bunch of cool things like that, good structures and stuff like that. So we're excited about it.
Are we not targeting that elderly demographic with that statement, or what? Are we?
Hey, I get a lot.
Are we going us against them? Oh, the elderly versus the younger demo here, like with that. I mean, I'm fine. We go with that. That's cool with me. We can go with that.
The last Run It Up Reno, I met these two sisters who run a hardware store in Alaska, and they were both in their like 60s, maybe low 70s, and they came to Run It Up Reno purely to play the mixed game events. So you never know. We like everybody at Run It Up Reno.
I met this savage at one of the tournaments I played there. She was this, I think she was a local lady, and she was like the most hardcore savage, like talking kind of shit lady I've ever met in my life. I was like, man,
Nice.
like, are you single? Like, would you ever go on a date? I don't know. I was intrigued. I'll put it like that. So there you get. There's a lot of women there. There's a lot of people there. It's a different demographic than you're going to see at other poker tournaments for sure. It's just it's fun. A lot of streamers come there out there too. You got a lot of run-up ambassadors as well that'll come there.
Yep.
And everyone's talking, having a good time.
We've tried to also embrace the content side of things. The reason Run It Up Reno is so big is because of all the live streams that I always did promoting people to come to Run It Up Reno. So, we try to let people do live streams and podcasts, and we try to make it very much, we try to embrace those things as much as we can.
Yeah, we got a lot of people out here on Twitch. A lot of people saying, what's up to Jay Carver out there, man? Yeah, you still got a lot of the fans out there, Jay. How does it feel to kind of know, even though you haven't been streaming yourself for quite a long time at this point in time, but you still got a lot of fans out there, even on the YouTube chats right now. We got a lot of people watching. How do you feel about just kind of still having that support from those people?
Yeah, it means a lot to me, man. It's one of those things where those of you that watched any of our broadcasts over the years, I was as committed to it as anybody, and I wouldn't have done it without the love and encouragement of the fans. You know what it's like. You get a ton of social media, chat comments, YouTube replies. Some are negative, some are positive. Man, I got overwhelmingly positive support my entire career. I wouldn't have pushed myself so hard if not for all that support. And I hear everybody when they tweet me and message me on Discord, and they're like, "When are you coming back, man? We miss you." And I definitely look forward to returning. I did W Coop last year. This year I couldn't do W Coop, but I intend to do some streams once Pennsylvania comes online. That should be a lot of fun. Hopefully that happens sometime soon, but who knows. And as online poker sort of like follows the coattails of sports betting from a regulatory point of view, sports betting is opening a ton of doors in America, and I think poker will kind of come with it. I think that I expect myself to be involved with online poker streaming in the future in America once the market and the regulation sort of catches up to where we're at.
Yeah, it seems like that's a bit of ways away. As you mentioned, Pennsylvania. And if another state does get legalized here, there's a lot of time that has to pass as well too before that actually is implemented. And right now, Is there any state that's on the horizon, or is it?
Pennsylvania is the closest one to getting it done, but I think once you have legalized online sports betting, how do you not have online poker? Right? There's no moral line that says sports betting is okay, poker isn't. So I kind of expect them to get bundled together in a lot of legislative packages. And it'll just take it'll take a few more years, I think, before we see more states come online. It's been so slow, as you know. But Pennsylvania will help. Pennsylvania is the biggest state so far. That'll be, I think it's like 11 or 12 million or something like it, when New Jersey is like 2/3 of that. So when Pennsylvania connects to New Jersey and both of those are connected to Nevada, hopefully that puts pressure on New York, and then things start sort of snowballing from there.
Yeah, so we're probably a bunch of years away we're all young here, so probably like 4 years away, something like that. The bots are going to all be playing, but everyone's going to be a robotic algorithm in their minds, the AI chips, and everyone's going to be playing perfect GTO, and everyone's going to be a bot. So it's like, what's going to happen at that point in time? But I don't.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? I hopefully as things progress in America, there's more emphasis put on potentially stopping things like that, and having people punished if they do decide to do this, and if they are using these sorts of these exploits online, because of course that's going to become more and more of a concern as well too, and it's a concern in other sites now. But if there are stricter punishments and there is more regulation, maybe we won't see that be the case.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your job will be a lot easier if there are gaming commissions with teeth that are able to police online poker. It's one of those things that it's just hard, man. How do you stop bots when there's no penalty besides getting, banned?
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do. It's a lot scarier to run a bot network when the result of you getting caught is getting put in prison.
Yeah, certainly different than ACR banning your account and you go to another skin and you start a new one, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's tough to enforce those things, without that.
No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I guess so kind of when you look now and you look back on the time in streaming and look at sort of what's happened with the space, with other streamers coming and other streamers going, what sort of when you look back on that time streaming, do you think that was a great way to make a living? Because we recently had Doug Polk on, and he said that it's just not sustainable to be a streamer in poker, and that
it's hard.
It's like tough. You got to do it every day, and then also trying to make money. It's just something that he doesn't think is a realistic way to try to make a living for a lot of people.
You know what I told Lex when Lex was on the come up? I said, the best thing you can do is to build yourself a castle that lets you have peace of mind, that lets you have a consistent sort of routine, something that you find every resource that you need. That was something that I never felt like I had, because it was always going from rental place to rental place to rental place to rental place that had different issues with internet and whatever else. And I was packing everything and moving around. And I always felt like that made it very hard for me to like make friends in the area that I was at or do things other than streaming, because you have to have that sort of balance. I mean, like the top 10 poker streamers in the world on Twitch haven't made that much money combined. And once you take out the top 5, the next 50 not looking great from a career point of view. But you know what it does is it does subsidize poker for you. If you're a marginally winning player and then you add streaming, now all of a sudden you can make a decent living. I understand why the poker sites want to get involved. I understand, people enjoy streaming. It's awesome, but to make a career out of streaming is challenging, man. Like it's hard. There's not a lot of advertisers that are willing to pay, even though
not at all.
we have 18 to 45-year-old men with disposable income. So you would think that's the demo that people want. But in my experience, and I've tried to sell harder than I'm pretty sure anybody, it's hard to get people to answer your phone call when you're like, oh, you're a poker on Twitch? Like, what is that? So I think there's still some work to happen there. Honestly, like if not for Poker Stars and Party Poker and a few other companies that have invested in Twitch poker, there would be way less content like that. I think it would be entirely unsustainable, I think, if not for those companies that saw the value and invested in it.
Right.
PokerStars, I know PokerStars has spent 8 figures on Twitch in between all the stuff they've done, all their live events, all the things they've done. That investment has been critical for our community on Twitch. And Party spent a bunch of money this year on Jamie and Kevin and Jeff and those guys, and good for them. They're hardworking people, and I was happy to see Party spend that money. One thing you mentioned to me was, how did I feel about people coming and going? And Kevin Martin is immediately who I thought of when you said that. Kevin, probably my best friend, who was a streamer. He had always Kevin was always very hot and cold. When he was doing something, he was all in. When he was over it, he was over it. And this felt like to him it was the time to just go. But it was. Yeah. I get why he thought it was over, but it's also sad to see, right? He's not even 30 years old. So he already has had his whole timeline of in poker, in streaming, out of, or at least that massively declining his poker. So I was sad to see that, to be honest. That was something that I always really liked Kevin as a streamer and as a person. So that was kind of tough for me. But it's also, on the other hand, awesome to see Spraggy crushing it, Fenton crushing it. Awesome run in WCOOP recently. Lex, obviously, he's running Lex Live right now, doing an event in Europe, his own little Run It Up Reno sort of event in London. So it's great to see these guys crushing, and so many others too, all in Pav. The list is long of these guys who are doing awesome out there. So that is great to see. I definitely never wanted to stop streaming and have Twitch just end. I wanted to see it continue and grow and do better. And last year, which was my first year not streaming, it grew. It grew 20% or something, which is awesome to see. So I want to see that going, and I plan to still be a part of the story in the future.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do stream on there. There's a lot of smaller streamers who it's kind of interesting, right? You go in there and there's about 20 or 30 streamers who have about 5 or less viewers or something like that, and they're just grinding it out. And I say, man, I don't know, maybe you throw out a shout out to some of them or something like that. Sometimes I'm thinking about that, what could I do to potentially help these guys out or kind of help them grow.
Throwing your host over, man, is all it takes. You mentioning them, you're a bit of a kingmaker yourself here. If you say this guy is doing an awesome PLO stream, then they get from 5 viewers to 25 viewers. Man, those 20 viewers puts them up a lot in the directory.
That's true.
So sometimes that little bump is all that it takes. And if you're a poker fan out there and haven't just clicked around in the Twitch directory, then sometimes you make streamers' days by hopping in, spending 4 minutes, watch them play some hands, say, hey, you played that hand nicely, and then just tune off, tune out, go somewhere else. You might have made that person's day by saying something nice to them. And so, encouraging and supporting the Twitch community is something that I feel quite passionate about still. And I hope a lot of the fans out listening to this feel the same way.
Hope so, man. We got a lot of people watching. What's up, guys? If you watched the live streams I did yesterday, I did a live stream last night and the night before where I reviewed Mike the God Apostle's hands. We went over about 11 hours total of hands so far. He's got hundreds of hours. Not only are you learning from the biggest winner at Stones by far, but you're learning how to be like a god. You're learning how to do great at the table. He's got a very great presence at the table, very animated. So if you want to learn not only how to get better at Texas Hold'em, at live poker, how to never lose, and how to be a great player at the table, you got to watch these streams. And if you want to watch me lose my fucking mind, you have to tune into these, because I went crazy last night for about 30 minutes where I talked about attempting to merge my mind and God's mind together on my beanbag chair while we're doing some hallucinogenics. So I said, Jason, if you saw what I saw, I felt like I couldn't, what's higher than God? I couldn't figure it out. Is it a Titan? Is it the nature? Is it a word that hasn't been created yet? I just couldn't figure. What I was seeing was something I've never seen before. I said, I need to be this. I need to not be with them. I need to be them. I need to be not them, but me with them inside of me, that sort of something like that. Not in a way you guys are gonna think, but just in a way of taking that aura and presence inside. So it was
special.
Oh my God! I mean, here. I just yeah, man. That was definitely a recap of the play. And you think I'm exaggerating? You're gonna laugh and say people are gonna say, "Yeah, it didn't happen." But no, this is exactly what happened. So you guys got to check that out. And And yeah, but yeah, we're also doing the Phil. I got a Phil Ivey investigation I'm working on, Jason, with the Phil. You've seen that Baccarat case he's involved in with the
Yeah, of course.
the edge sorting with him and
Yes.
Chen Young Sun at the Borgata and at the Crockfords over there too. So I feel
Yes.
like I just never understood what exactly took place with that. So
Okay.
I just a lot of misconceptions out there. So I decided to aggregate all the information I could find out there and make it into the best video I think I've ever done in terms of production and in terms of creativity. So that'll be coming out on Monday. It was supposed to come out this week, but my man Postle kind of stepped on the scene, so we pivoted to that.
That was a crazy story. Ivy back in the old days, if you ever watched like the life of Ivy on Poker Road, he always had some like very crazy sort of gambling edges that he found, right? Ivy, I heard a story from Negreanu once where Ivy would be playing craps at a table and would intentionally look like a fish to get more action, more comps, and more value. And when you're playing casino games, your edge is only so negative. And if they're giving you things like private planes and 10% of your losses back and 100,000 in free play, all of a sudden that edge swings to being in your favor relatively quick. And so Ivy would have this persona of playing like an absolute lunatic where he would roll and lose and he'd be like, of course I lost, you had a red-headed dealer here, what the fuck are you doing to me, get rid of this dealer, you're scamming me here. And so they'd be like, yes, sure, Mr. Ivy, right away, sir, we'll get rid of this dealer for you. And this was all like a construction in his mind to find the edge. So when I heard about the Baccarat case, I was like, this is a classic Phil Ivey sort of an edge find that he discovered here, literally an edge sorting in this situation. And I was shocked that all the cases that he brought all went against him. That I think there's no pending case, right? They were all sorted where he had to give the money back, which is crazy to me that the casino provided the deck. He just took advantage of the deck they gave him, and they still, both in the UK and in New Jersey, forced him to give the money back.
Well, the New Jersey case is still pending. They did say they could seize assets, but it's also still in the appeals court, so it's still going on. Whereas Crockford's, that was actually decided on 2017. So they initially didn't give him the money, and they
just held it.
They held it back. Yeah, they reviewed the tapes, and
still crazy.
It seemed like the second session they got a little greedy, maybe made it a little too obvious. And, common theme in these things, how do they get caught? You make it too obvious. So they won a bit too much money in a short period of time. And that's going to be discussed in the video that I have created, how they did that exactly. Because that's right. What Jason said is very accurate. Like, they didn't just go there and say, here's what we want or we're not coming, right? They wire money there first. So you say, we're going to come out there, give you $3 million. Okay, or $1 million. You wire $1 million there, and then you go there. You start acting like a fish, just like you said. You're having a good time. You're talking about superstition. You're saying this. You're saying that, and then you start asking for the request, and they're going to grant it to you. One, because they have your money there, they want you to keep it. Two, because you have a reputation as being more of a degenerate, and three, you just have all the mannerisms of someone who's just going to give their fucking money away. So that's why they grant these requests in these situations. And as you said, that's when you can start finding the edges in your favor. And obviously, he found a huge one, which is why they won so much money around the world. I'm not spoiling it. It's already out there, Michael C.
The craziest thing about this to me is that even with all the things they were doing, their edge swung from being, I don't know what a Baccarat edge is, let's say it's like negative 2%, it swung to be negative up to positive, I think it was like 3 or 5% or something.
6 point something, yeah, like 6.6.
Okay, exactly. But so that's not a guarantee they're going to win. Right. So if they had lost $5 million, they were going to pay. They weren't going to get their money back. They weren't going to say, oh, actually, we were edge sorting. Give us our money back, please. That wouldn't have happened. They were going to just lose. But in a scenario where he wins, then he gets free rolled and they just get to keep the money or not pay him. Like, that to me is the scummiest part about this story, which is that he posted the money. He told them what they wanted. He didn't bring the deck. They gave him the deck of cards. They just happened to cut it the wrong way, and they took advantage of that. How do you punish Phil in that scenario, even if you could argue a couple different things, like maybe he shouldn't have done it, but what are you going to say? He showed up and took advantage of an exploit. That's a very standard thing you have to protect against in casinos. So yeah, I'm looking forward to your video, because this is a story that I've felt I felt very passionate about as it was unfolding in the last 5 years.
Well, this is why it's such a fascinating kind of topic to discuss, is because it does bring up that emotion of this is not fair, because you have casinos that are providing you unlimited alcohol at some places for free while you're gambling. They're getting you inebriated, so you don't make the best decisions that you can make, and you're not thinking mindfully, you're not thinking clearly, your mind is really, really clouded, your judgment's really clouded. So they do that in addition to a number of other things. And then in a situation when you go there and you say, okay, how about this, how about that, they agree to it. And you mentioned the free rolling aspect of things, and I'm from my research, I'm told this is actually something they do quite well at, is they can identify when you're pulling a hustle. And what they'll do is, if you win, they just won't pay you. And if you lose, they kick your money. I'm like, oh, well, that's pretty smart. I mean, that's a good business model to have right there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me. So hopefully, I'm glad to know that the New Jersey case is still in appeals. Hopefully he wins that, because it's kind of insane not to. Like you said, the casinos take every single edge they can take against you. And, for him to try to take an edge against them and them to, basically free roll him in that way is sort of insane.
Yeah, it's definitely, we'll see what happens, right? I mean, it sucks because you want Ivy to be a part of poker because he's such a legend of the game.
Of course.
And he's
still pretty young, too. He's like 40-something, right? 50, maybe?
Right.
Not even.
Well, Doyle's 83 or 85 or something like that, and he's still playing.
Right.
So it's...
exactly.
But yeah, also, like, Ivy has tried to be more active in the past. He had the businesses. He had the training site. He's tried to start a poker site, potentially. He's involved with the Virtue Poker. So it seems like he does enjoy being active from that sort of sense, and having a presence and having businesses and being a part of things. And now it's just like he can't really come to the States. He gets his money taken away. When he played the World Series poker this summer, they're kind of beating the guy into a corner in that situation. And it's unfortunate to see, as a big fan and as someone who is a part of the poker world and would love to have a guy like Phil Ivey, who has been debatably one of the best players of all time in poker and overall
until
games.
Recently.
Yeah, and playing every
until
game
Mike.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So GG Tech says, how have I not been following this channel? I never stream on Twitch. I do my podcast mostly on YouTube, but I found out about a site called Restream, and now I can do them on Twitch and YouTube at the same time.
Bang!
So I'm probably like 6 years behind where Jake Carver probably had that figured out back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like his stream was looking beautiful from day one. He had like the little what was the background you had in was it
I
like
had a fish tank that was gorgeous for a long time.
Right, yeah, it looked beautiful. What did you make that room or something? Did you put
No, it was just a place that I rented that happened to have this beautiful office as one of the rooms it had. And so actually that place was so good to us that I actually installed a hard line. I streamed from there the most of any place that I streamed from. But they actually let me drill a hole through the wall and install a hard line internet to that office. And yeah, that place was great. That fish tank was awesome. But I've had maybe like 7 different places I've streamed from for more than like a single session over the course of my like 3 or 4 years that I stream regularly. But yeah, that fish tank place was by far my favorite. It was awesome.
Is this a stream setup you have right here?
Yeah, so this setup here is where I've started constructing sort of like a place where I can do content again. So I sort of have started thinking about the kind of stuff that I want to create. We talked about that I'm going to plan on doing chat plays poker every so often. I want to do some run it up live games. We have this house, we can do these home games, and then kind of figure out a way where I can do other sorts of content, whether it's around sports, poker, potentially some online poker, depending on what happens. And yeah, I kind of feel like I'm going to head in that direction in the future, in addition to adding live events and whatnot. I think Friday, which today is Wednesday, Friday is going to be our next Chat Plays Poker. We'll be on the Poker Stars channel on Friday, right after Lex Live. They're giving away a platinum pass on the broadcast, and then we're going to be live. So you guys can come hang out and check out the second Chat Plays Poker. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I hear Jesse's been playing on there, running up employee. He's been getting in the mid. How's his game, man? What do you think? I like that kid. How's his game going?
Jesse is the best character that we have had at Chat Plays Poker, because when we have a 4-handed game, it's chat and then 3 opponents, and I wanted our opponents to be kind of like characters. We could tell one player play really tight, one player play really loose. If we wanted to, we can set up a lot of different configurations for like education. But Jesse just took to it so well that he kind of plays this villainous character that it's just like chat wants to beat him so badly that he's like earned a seat in the game forever just because chat wants to take his money so badly. So Jesse, who has been a Run It Up fan since the very, very, very beginning, now works for us as our social media manager, but also apparently as my permanent Chat Plays Poker villain. He'll be on the show on Friday for sure.
The man's got a lot of characters, man. Whether we're at the karaoke bar and he whips out a little Britney Spears "Toxic," right? Or whether I feel like the man wears a lot of hats. Listen, the he runs all the social going on with himself. He's doing a little of this, doing a little bit of that. Like you can do a lot of things, So
yeah, he's been doing great lately. That's for
I
sure.
would love to fucking crush the Twitch chat at Potlam in Omaha, though. I would listen, guys. I cannot wait to play you guys on Twitch and PLOs at some point in time. I'm gonna fucking destroy you like Mike Postle destroys the game for 1,100 big blinds per 100 over multiple 69 sessions plus. I am going to pull a Postle on you so hard. You're going to have an investigation video on myself about how I destroyed the Twitch chat.
Booked. I would love to have you come play with. That would be great.
I'm very excited for that. I'm going to get some questions from the chat here, guys. I don't know. I was told, Jay Carvey, what do you got? An hour? How much time you got there, kid? I know you're a busy
we can do like 3:50. How about like 10 more minutes
Let's
or so?
do it.
Like 15 minutes, yeah.
Let's do it. I know you're busy. What do you got in the sky? You feel like are your schedule busy all day long? Like what do you?
Today's hockey night. Today's the debut of hockey, day one. So
Golden Knights.
That's the exciting thing that I have planned out for tonight here. I got unfortunately I have a bet against my beautiful Golden Knights. I have the San Jose Sharks tonight, sadly enough. But I got a bunch of. I know it's crazy.
What are you talking about? What are you talking? You're going to go to the game, the opening game?
I'm not going to the game. No, I won't go to the game. I bet against the Golden Knights. But I got Sharks tonight as one of my bets. We'll see how it goes.
This is
I got Rays also.
Bro, this is just blasphemy. You live in Vegas and you're going to bet against the Golden Knights.
I know, it's crazy. It's amazing. But,
Brendan Van Boeven says, ask him about his red convertible. First big poker purchase, story to get back at an ex-girlfriend.
That's true, actually. That's actually true. It's an old enough story that you know it's an old story when my ex-girlfriend is involved. It was like the second big purchase that I made. First one I bought was a huge TV. I was living at my parents' house, and the TV was like 2/3 of the size of my small bedroom on the wall. And I was very happy with that because I was like 18 years old and said, even if I win no more money from poker, at least I can play video games the rest of my life, and it'll be awesome.
That's true.
And then a few years later, I spent half of my bankroll on a cherry red 350Z manual convertible that I could not even drive out of the parking lot because I couldn't drive a stick. So my dad actually drove it home with me. And over the course of the next year and a half, I barely ever drove it because I didn't have the confidence to there's a lot of hills in Long Island with red lights on them, and I was so afraid I was going to roll into the person behind me that I could only drive where I knew it was flat and I knew where the lights were. So it was a terrible purchase. I can't believe I did it, and I sold it a few years later. But it was cool when I was 19 years old.
So you had the convertible at 19?
I think I was 19, and I think I sold it when I was 21. It didn't last long. So
my first purchase I bought from poker money was a big screen TV from my room where I was at. And then I also bought a stick shift car. I bought a BMW M3 convertible that I did not know how to drive. So my friend drove it home and took me to a parking lot, and I drove around the parking lot for about 3 hours learning it. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I drove it home, and then I was terrified on hills. There were hills in a couple.
Clones.
I'm literally I'm just holding my foot on the brake, oh my God. And I'm like, okay, go. I'm just trying to maneuver it properly. But that was literally one of the most terrifying things I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Wow, I felt the same way. We exactly have the same experience.
But luckily, I feel like Long Island maybe had more hills because where I was from back home, in Illinois, Indiana, there wasn't that many hills. It was relatively flat. So there'd be some streets with these massive hills. I was I just didn't go down the hills until I got better.
Of course.
So I could learn on all flat land. But if there was a lot of streets you had to maneuver, I could see why you're a little terrified to actually do that, though.
Yeah. It was a silly purchase. That's for sure.
I don't think it was. I think it was a silly approach to learning stick. I think you should have learned how to do it. The 350Z is pretty sweet. It
was pretty sweet. Don't get me wrong. When it was awesome. Summertime, the thing down on a flat street, that was awesome.
I didn't know anyone else did that before. I've never even considered, but I wanted an M3 so bad. I was like, this is my car. And then I think I won a prop bet, and I made some money after my. I think it was after the 600,000 hand one I did. And so I had some money, and then I was like, I'm going to spend half of my bankroll on the M3, which is kind of what I did. Shout out to my mother for helping me out with that. And yeah, and then I loved that. That was the man, 22, 23 years old, driving around with the M3 convertible, the hand on the steering wheel. I thought, man, I bet you drive around that car when you're a kid, man. You feel like you bought something, man.
Yeah, of course. It was the coolest thing in the world at the time. And yeah, didn't last that long. Luckily, I don't think I'll ever own a cherry red car ever again. That's for sure.
Never
That
say
was
never, buddy. What car do you have now? What do you have
I.
here?
I have the same car I've had for like 10 years. I have a G37, which is very similar to 350Z, but it's an automatic.
Yeah.
I won't drive a stick shift again.
Why not?
Why not?
I mean, you don't need to now. They have this like paddle shift you can kind of do if you really want to get the
Oh,
experience.
I think I actually have that on mine, but I never use it.
Yeah, why would you? Like, what are you a race car driver? You
Exactly,
racing
I'm
on the
not.
15
So-
here and against the Toyota, whatever. I don't even know what I'm honestly so
Yeah.
out of touch with cars right now. I used to be work on all my cars. I took all my cars apart. I customized everything in my cars growing up, and then I was like,
Wow.
all right, I can't wait till I make some money because I'm gonna have the baddest ass customized Dodge Neon of all time or Honda Civic of all time.
Sick, yeah.
And then I bought the M3, and I just never. I was like, I put a couple things on there. I'm like, I'm over that. You know, like
You're good.
You get older. You kind of get out of that stage of things. I think so.
Yeah, of course.
Now we're like in the entrepreneurship content side of things, and maybe
Yep.
going with that. Now you're like managing people instead of managing your car, so it's a little bit kind of a different
Priorities
situation.
change.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge in managing people? Because I'm trying to learn that in terms of people I'm bringing on to work with me, and you have a great team,
Yeah.
and like I said, they seem to be great as well too. So what's the biggest challenge with that?
Honestly, it was the hardest thing for me with this company, and it still is. It's an ongoing challenge, right? I mean, I am a high school graduate, right? Like I never got a lesson in how to manage a team from the Harvard geniuses or anything like that. So I think what I have really tried to do is to get people who I trust are competent and good at organizing and communicating with them, and then letting them mostly manage their teams, letting them build their teams with people that they trust and that they can help to execute it. And it really comes down to that, getting aligned in vision with the people who are helping you execute, and then hiring good people who you trust that can follow through with what you
So
a
vision you have in your mind, and then you brainstorm with this team, and then you guys formulate a more clear vision
Strategy.
based on input from them and also your creativity as well. And then as that process goes along, redefining that vision, and then I guess how do you allocate the responsibility in terms of what you'd like to give up as someone who I'm sure is confident in your ability to make certain things how you want them to be to have successful. So then how are you relinquishing that responsibility over time? That's the part I'm struggling with here.
It somewhat comes down to trust, and also my team just sort of like learning the way that I want to do things. There are definitely times that something will be created, and I'll say this is just not what I had in mind for this, and try to explain not just like how to change it, but like why I look at this differently and why this didn't really suit what I was looking for. This has been a process for me, right? Like I always think that it's easier to do something until you actually do it. Everybody has that perspective, I guess. But when I started this business, I did not necessarily see some of the struggles from human resources and managing. This person doesn't necessarily get along well with this person, and how do you make that work, and how do we accomplish this objective given these hurdles? It's very different than being an individual streamer that had people helping me, but it was every day we're streaming, it was pretty clear. This is much more obtuse in a way. We have to manage health insurance now and these other things that if I didn't have a team of people who all have college degrees and who all have experience in the business world before, and a good group of mentors that have kind of said, hey, read this book and try to focus on these things, I don't think we would have been able to do what we can do even today.
A process just took a lot of time, took experience, and kind of putting in the reps and getting in the lab and having those
learning
mentors
how to organize
to help you out, right? Yeah. Well, hey, Liz, I don't know how you did that. You learned to organize. That's what you're saying?
It's always an ongoing process, but I
Okay.
mean, I have learned a lot on how to organize. I take so many notes. I am a prolific note taker. And for years, I was just keeping them in like literal notepad files saved to my desktop. Like that's not how you do organized notes. So I use a bunch of different programs now, and including like an actual physical notebook that I try to keep relatively filled up with thoughts and things. There's so much going on. If you don't have a plan and say, even for anybody out there who is trying to accomplish anything, you have to figure out your vision for what you want to accomplish, lay out a plan and like a map of how you're going to get there, figure out what assets and resources you either have or can bring on board to help you execute that plan, and then make sure you're taking steps every single day. One of the best things that I learned, Joey, was if you want to get something done, you have to schedule a time. A to-do list is not good enough to get things done. You have to say, I'm going to do this at 3 p.m. on Tuesday. Every Tuesday, I'm going to do this. Like the most successful people in the world have their schedules planned out, every single 30 minutes or whatever it is. If I've had to-do lists for years that never get done, but if you say, I'm going to do this from 2 to 3 p.m., I'm going to answer all my emails, even if it's just that level of structure, I think it helps a lot to make sure you're progressing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's definitely an area a lot of poker players, myself included, struggle with the idea of organization. And I think I'm the same way. I have notes, probably like 85 note files in my phone. I got 4 notebooks, and I have notes on my computer too.
Right.
And I never really revisit them. They're not very organized. And also you mentioned planning and scheduling. As poker players, we're not very good at planning and scheduling either, right?
Bad.
The freedom that you get from poker and the not having, basically having this control of your life and having freedom and not having to make a schedule is a very appealing thing, I think, for a lot of poker players, which is why they get into it and why they excel at it. So to kind of say, okay, now you need to get away from that process and then go actually the other way, and you want to have a schedule, because if you set a schedule and set a plan, that's how you're going to achieve what you want to achieve here, or you're going to achieve higher results in poker potentially here. It's kind of like this counterintuitive approach to things that I'm still personally learning how to get better at as well.
It's tough, and there are a lot of resources out there that can help with sort of mental organization, mindfulness. But if you're not careful with your time, things go by fast and are unaddressed, and you end up losing weeks so fast, man. Time goes by before you know it. Mm-hmm. So if you've got things you want to accomplish, scheduling and being organized is your best way of being effective with the time that you have.
Bumby, you got a question for Jay Carver? You don't have one question? Give him a question. What's the last one? Give him a good one. You don't have one? Nothing. She's got nothing. This is a new segment. Questions with Bumby. You don't have a question? Okay, she's getting shy. Even though she's not on camera, she doesn't want to ask a question. So we'll kind of give them this. Give the people one piece of advice out there. Poker, life. Even that was actually really great advice too. But kind of something that comes to mind for people. They watch this and they go away today. They can implement this into their life tonight potentially.
Yeah. I would say, let's think about it. Everything in life you can more or less, I think you can approach life and say everything has some sort of like EV to it. And you have to kind of evaluate, not just in terms of financial EV, but in terms of happiness EV, and thinking rationally, trying to remove emotion and feelings from your decision making to focus on, hey, this is going to be something that matters to me in life, something whether it's family related, it's business related, it's something even potentially spiritual or fitness related, who knows? If you say, these are my goals, these are the things that will give me the highest happiness EV, I need this much money to accomplish this goal, trying to lay out a plan to achieve that, and developing your edges in these ways, trying to be efficient with your time, to say, hey, a lot of people don't want to have a house cleaner come, because you can clean the house yourself, or you can mow the lawn yourself, or there's other things. But you can build your edges and increase the time you have if you can potentially find ways to have people help you do things that aren't the best use of your time. It's not helping you with your goals. It's not developing your edges in any way. You have to kind of think about how you can prioritize your life to kind of support the goals that you have. So I would say that's one of the things that's really helped me the most, is trying to think about, what are the things that I personally am best at? How can I contribute the most to my team or to my vision or to the plan? It's not by being the one that's doing the Excel sheet to track, is Joey Ingram coming to run it up Reno? Has he got a hotel room? Has he got this stuff sorted out? That is not my life. My
bad, guys. I know it's on me. My bad. It's on me. I'm gonna get back to
yeah, but there are plenty of people that are better than me at that. So having them do that, and I think to myself, what am I best at? What are the things that I am literally the most effective person on my team at? And so focusing on those things, thinking about what I want to accomplish and how that all fits together, I think that's been the biggest change that's really helped me in the last few years.
Hey, fucking man. I love it. Amen.
There you go.
Shelby, you're on top of that. Okay, I'm putting in touch with you. You take care of that, okay? All right,
we gotta talk more often, Joey. This was awesome. I had a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it a lot. Guys in the chat, appreciate everyone out there on Twitch and YouTube who tuned in. We might get another live stream tonight. Listen, I don't know. I'd like to look at some more Mike Postle hands. I'm going to talk to Doug. I think we're going to do a podcast tomorrow morning-ish, afternoonish, and we're going to talk all about Apostlegate here. But yeah, guys, if you want to follow Jason Follow the Run It Up channel as well. Run It Up on Run It Up. What is it? Just Run It Up on. It's always running, right? Run It Up 24/7. Run It Up. Run It Up. What is it? Run It Up.tv. What is the?
Yep. RunItUp.tv is our Twitch channel. We got RunItUpReno.com has the Reno schedule. RunItUp.com. We have all of our events over there. A lot of cool events coming up, including hopefully a Vegas event in the next year. So excited about that. Okay. And we'll be live on our next show tomorrow. We'll be live on Run It Up TV.
What time?
We'll be live at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. in the East, 10 p.m. British summertime. Is it still British summertime? Who knows?
I've literally never once mentioned the British time in my life. So I'm happy you. Shout out to the British people out there. You're showing some love. I appreciate that. And yeah, guys, we'll be back, like I said, tomorrow. On Saturday, I think me and Doug are going to do a Postle review stream. Next Thursday, next podcast that's scheduled with John Robert Balland, the legend of the poker game. So that's it, guys. Much love. Peace out. Take care. Adios. That's it. See you.